American personnel here in Iraq. The U.S. military says that 2 bases were targeted. The Al-Assad base, which is in western Iraq, about 200 miles from the Iranian border, and here in Erbil, where I am right now. We heard what seemed like 2 explosions, and there are helicopters in the sky right now patrolling the area. Iran is not just claiming responsibility for this. It says that the operation was codenamed Martyr Soleimani. So it says this is a direct response to the U.S. targeted killing of the top Iranian general, Qasem Soleimani. The Iranian news agencies have also put out video. They want the world to know. The video shows what seem to be at least 3 missiles fired from Iran. You can see them in the air. You could hear the distinct sound of a rocket engine. We do not know, however, if there are casualties at this stage. There are reports in the Iraqi media that there are some Iraqi casualties. U.S. military officials say they are still assessing damage. U.S. military officials that we've been in contact with said that at the Al-Assad base, they were under attack, that troops took to their shelters, went down into bunkers, and that these missiles came in waves, a first wave followed by a second wave. Iranian news agency says that if the United States responds, there will be more attacks, what they describe as devastating attacks. Now, what we don't know is, will the United States respond? The United States has threatened to respond, so it is very likely that some sort of response is either being formulated or potentially in process.
Richard, over the years, one of the points of dispute between Iran and the U.S. is its development of ballistic missiles. Do we know if these are large ballistic missiles or rockets?
Iran says they are ballistic missiles, and to travel from the Iranian border, we don't know exactly how deep in Iranian territory they were fired from, but to go just from the edge of the Iranian border to the Assad base, you would need some sort of powerful missile. It wouldn't have to be a long-range missile, but a lot more than just these point-and-shoot rockets that tend to be fired at U.S. bases here in Iraq. So a very significant escalation. This is a conventional cross-border attack by an organized military against an organized military base, U.S. bases here in Iraq.
Right.
Technically, these are Iraqi bases that house U.S. personnel, but they are, without a doubt, they were targeted by Iran, and Iran wants the world to know it. Every few minutes or so, Iranian different news agencies are putting out different Twitters saying that this is in response to the death of Qasem Soleimani. They're putting out hashtags, Martyr Soleimani. They want the Iranian people to know that they have taken some action.
Richard Engel on the ground inside Iraq. Thanks. Let's go to NBC's Courtney Kuby at the Pentagon. Courtney, what are they saying there?
Well, they're saying the Pentagon of course, was the first one to acknowledge that, in fact, that what they're saying, Iran launched more than a dozen ballistic missiles from inside Iran at 2 locations inside of Iraq. These are Iraqi bases that house U.S. and coalition troops and Al-Assad in western Iraq. And then, of course, the launch up towards Erbil, what's unclear is, in fact, whether they were targeting or actually struck the base. There is a base that houses a number of U.S. military in Erbil. You'll remember only a few weeks ago, they launched out of there for a part of the raid that killed Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Only weeks ago, they launched out of Erbil. So there is a U.S. military presence there, but what's unclear is exactly what was hit up there. The U.S. military continues to do their battle damage assessment, trying to determine what was hit at both locations and whether there were any casualties. So far, we are not hearing about that, but that doesn't mean that that's not the case, Lester. We're also, look at one of the targets, Al-Assad Air Base. This is a